so excited to have a chat to you today.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Nick. Great to be with you again. It's been a long time, I guess. Year and a half, maybe.
I know. Okay, so just to give you guys a bit of background, and I actually have Nick to thank for us meeting Chris because he was going to go to your seminar with the growth faculty in Melbourne, but then for some unknown reason he had to go overseas. I think he was partying or something, maybe Coachella. I'm not sure.
I actually remember this story now that you say you're the guy. You're the guy, Nick. Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
You're the guy. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So I was, and I'll be honest with you, Chris, I actually don't like going to things like that because I get really bored. I'm not a very, I think I've got ADD or something. I just don't have a long attention span. So I just thought, when
the opening of an envelope.
Fun things.
There's a slight possibility she has ADD. It's rumored at this point. An outside chance.
Just a rumor. But I normally lose concentration really easily. And Nick goes, look, he's meant to be amazing. You should go. And I just thought, okay, I'll go along. And you were amazing. Like you were so engaging. You're really funny. And I actually almost feel like it's fate because it's like, the universe has brought us full circle and now Nick actually gets the chance to hear directly from you. So yeah, private session.
That's really funny that you say that because like being able to perform for short attention span theater, like that's my thing. Like,
great.
Because I'm the same way. I'm like super short. I was a Ritalin kid, right? And so I always look at everything through this lens of, no, I'd be lost right now. Like, what does it take to keep my attention? So it's really cool, Lisa, to hear you say that.
Yeah. And then we chatted. So I ambushed you, I think, during the session, and then I ambushed you after. And then we spoke for a long time and you probably just wanted to go to bed. But I was like, let's just keep talking.
We shot 6 videos, Nick. Yeah. I had presented for 8 hours and she made me shoot another 6 videos.
I thought she would have gone at least 10 or 15 videos. Lisa loves it.
Well, I just thought, it would just be a really great idea to share what I was learning at the actual session, but from you directly, because obviously, you got to hear it directly from the source. So we're both really excited for you to run through your epic, iconic book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, with us today, because let's face it, and I love one of your favorite quotes, there's more good ideas than capacity to execute, because really, I think a lot of our audience would struggle with that. I know that Nick, actually one of Nick's business partners just told him to read this book, your book. And that's why we thought, we'll definitely get Chris on.
He's a massive fanboy. Massive.
You'll need to get like an autograph.
They usually are until they meet me. and then I kill it.
No, he was there actually. He was there.
He was. All right on. That's cool. I didn't kill it.
So I guess just to begin, I just wanted to quickly talk about a story because I was listening to one of your podcast interviews and they were talking about your fake internship at Franklin Covey. So I guess you can't get fired for that now because you're well and truly entrenched in the business. But can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
They found out pretty early on. Yeah, it's funny. This story's been dead for a long time, but it's kind of come back now. I've got adult kids and I've got a couple of son-in-laws and they're all in that sort of getting into their career moment, right? So this topic has sort of come back up. But, I was at that great point in time where my wife and I, we didn't have to make a lot of money. And I loved Stephen Covey and I really wanted to work for him and he wasn't hiring. And so I just got fixated on this idea. I have to work for Stephen Covey and they wouldn't interview me. So I actually, it started by me pretending I worked for the newspaper. So I thought if they won't interview me, I'll interview them. So I showed up and I said, hey, I write for the Daily Herald. And my intention was to send it to the Daily Herald. I mean, I can still write for the Daily Herald, even if the Daily Herald doesn't know who I am, I figured. So I said, can I interview Stephen Covey? And they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But I got to interview their VP of marketing. So I'm in there and I'm like, okay, I got to do something. Right. And I pretend to be a reporter and I'm like, come on, man, you got to come up with something. And then right as the interview's ending, I thought, oh, hey, Greg, this has been great. By the way, I'm still finishing up some classes. I need an internship, any chance? And he jumped at it. I didn't need an internship. It was the only thing I could think of. And then they fired Stephen Covey's publishers the next week. The week after that, 7 Habits hits #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. and I'm doing all the calls to New York. I'm putting him on Good Morning America. I'm a fake reporter, unpaid intern from New York. They think, oh, he's from New York. He's from media. We'll have him handle all the media contacts. So I'm flying around now with Stephen Covey, and I just fell into that spot in a matter of weeks. It's hilarious story. Scared the out of me, but yeah. So that's how it started. 1991. That was 30 years ago.
Oh wow.
So that was a very quick story. I'm trying to think what podcast I might have told that story on.
It was the awesome job one. I had to be awesome at your job. Yeah, and I was like, I love this.
Yeah, I like that one. That was fun. Yeah.
Chris, if you don't mind, can you tell our audience who may not have heard of you, which is surprising, about a quick overview of the 4 disciplines of execution? Basically.
Yeah. So as you kind of got from the previous story, I started working for the guy that wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and his company, Franklin Covey, does a bunch of things. And about 20 years ago, me and a couple of other people got really focused on this one problem around executing strategy, right? Because all these business books, really an MBA, everything is focused on strategy, but there was very little that was done on the other side, which is execution. So we've done this work for 20 years. 10 years ago, the book came out after 10 years of trial and error, right? And then now this year, of course, the second edition's coming out. And the 4 disciplines of execution is the way we look at it. It's sort of the 4 natural laws. We didn't invent them. They've always been there for executing on a strategy that requires a high degree of human engagement or buy-in. Like if it's something that, you can just think your way out of, or you can just write a check or make some moves and get it, that's great. But if it requires a high degree of human buy-in, so these 4 rules come into play. And that's sort of the background for the 4 disciplines of execution.
It's actually interesting because you're right. So many books focus on strategy and how to write the perfect strategy, and very little actually talk about how to bring that strategy to life. And when I was listening to that other podcast, actually, you gave a really interesting definition of execution. So could you share with us how you define execution?
I'm trying to think of what I said. I answered that. I answered that a lot of different ways. I think. Okay, I think I know where you're going. When we use the term execution, we don't refer to just sort of doing everything you need to do to maintain the operation. And some people do. Some people, that's what the word execution means to them. And what we're saying is, okay, in addition to everything you got to do to maintain the operation, right? There's probably some result that you really want. There's probably some breakthrough. There's the next thing. And your ability to achieve the breakthrough, like I was just saying a second ago, maybe that thing that requires a change in behavior or, right, a high degree of engagement. How do you do that while, 80% of your life is still maintaining the existing operation? And it's the conflict between those two things that's so hard for so many leaders. How do I execute? Like everybody's busy. Okay, weeks are going by. Everyone looks busy, and we're not getting any closer on this critical objective that everything hangs on, and everybody's saying, yes, this is critical and it's key to our future, but weeks are going by and we're not getting traction. And it's sort of like that nightmare scenario is lived by so many leaders that was sort of the problem we've always been working on, which seems, by the way, this year, after what happened last year, this year, right, we're real popular this year because just about everybody has to pivot, or make some kind of strategic move right now.
Yeah. Chris, you worked with thousands of business owners over the years, like, was it 20, 30 years? What's the biggest mistake you see business owners make? Like the same mistake over and over again? And I think I know what it is, but I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think you know what it is. And it's funny, Lisa, you're talking about your ADD. Like it's people with ADHD are the worst violators of this, but it's Nick, it's simply over-goaling the organization. It's simply attacking too many things simultaneously. And, creative, ambitious people rise up in organizations. And those are the very same people that love to do a lot. And that conundrum kind of creates the whole problem.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lisa, one more question.
Okay.
While I'm on this topic, do you find a lot of founders or business leaders also a bottleneck? So they they basically want to take too much on, but actually don't get anything done because they're just trying to take everything on themselves and they don't delegate well enough.
Yeah, there and it's and in my experience, you may have your own take on this. In my experience, it's not because they don't want to delegate.
Yeah.
Like they want to delegate, but there's just some mechanics to doing it and knowing how to do it, and then it's exacerbated by the fact that there are so many things that they can see, and worse, there's so many things that they know what to do. Like they can see 7 things and they can tell you how to achieve all 7 things. And they're leaving money on the table and it's driving them nuts. It's like, we knew how to do this last year. This is still killing us right now. Like, and they can't, right? They can't. And if you really want to delegate, focus sort of precedes that. And it takes time, it takes energy to get people on board and to put a system in place where you can pull people into the process. So yeah, the two things really feed on each other.
Yeah, look, Nick's actually the king of delegation, so he's
oh, right on, good.
I'm a massive fan of delegating.
Literally, his job is delegating.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Were you always good at that, or was this sort of a developed capacity over
even
time?
In high school, I'd have people help with my homework. I was always good at delegating, even in school. So
That's
I've always been that kid and always that guy. But hey, it's right. I know that I'm not the smartest person in the room, so I say, look, I'm going to hire the best person here. Please help me win. That's all it really is.
Well, and that mindset around sort of recognizing that you're not, and that you're willing to let others play and participate and lead you. That really pays dividends.
Yeah, not for the people around him, but yeah, that's good. No, it's not too bad. Now, I want to talk about the whirlwind because I pretty much live in the whirlwind. So I know that you describe the whirlwind as like your day job. So the things that you need to get done just to keep the business going. And I think a lot of us really struggle with getting out of that whirlwind because you're like, I need to get all these things done. Here's my to-do list. I've got things like, 20 things on the list I need to do today. And so I can see why it's really easy to get stuck on that treadmill and not execute those big things that you need to move the company forward. And I guess this is really going to lead nicely into running through the 4 disciplines with you.
Sure.
But is this really like a common mistake that you saw, and this is why you developed the four disciplines?
Yeah, it's the single most universal problem associated with execution. And what's funny is we were at this thing for 3 years before we put our finger on this. Like this thing was hiding in plain sight. And it's this, sometimes we call it the whirlwind, sometimes we call it the urgency trap. And so if you just think about this idea that what determines how a person acts and what a person does is normally not what's most important. It's normally what's most urgent. That's what really drives what we do. And so, there's this natural human tendency for all of us to move to something urgent, even at the expense of something far more important. If you've ever been working on a project and this is the project, like this is the thing I got to get done this year, and there's a part of your brain that is just pulling you to leave it and to go put out some fires, and you think you're losing your mind, right? So everybody sort of gets that urgency addiction idea, but then when you put that in the context of strategic execution, if you're a leader, what you realize is, it doesn't matter if I convince them. Like, it doesn't matter if they're on board. It doesn't matter if they love the idea or if they say, yes, boss, absolutely critical, key to our future. Like, it doesn't matter. It's still the day job that's going to dominate. And so what mechanisms, and this is really where the 4 disciplines come in. How do I create a mechanism that gets energy against non-urgent activities? Because in the moment, doing the urgent thing, scratching that feels good. But at the end of the week, when you've just been doing urgent all week long and you're no closer to your goals than you were at the beginning, then it stinks, right? Then you really wished that you had. So that's a good lead. I think that's a good lead into the disciplines. That all right, I'm busy all day long and I'm not getting any closer. That's the thing maybe.
But wouldn't you balance it out? So you wouldn't say I'll do urgent tasks from say 9 till 1, and then from 2 till 6 I'll do the important task. Is that an option? Or
yeah, and if you've got the discipline to do that, sometimes that's the mechanism that will work. We've found that that it's a little bit challenging, and this is the disciplines will get into this. I like the question a lot, Nick. We've found that not only is there an urgency issue, but sometimes the strategic priority is also really ambiguous. Like, I don't exactly know what to do, right? Like, I know there's this big challenge, there's this big goal, and I should be working on it right now. And I gotta do that, right? But there's 100 possibilities, and my brain's spinning in all these different directions. And I'll just go respond to that email. I'll just go do, right? And then our brain. So it's the urgency, right? Addiction. And then the resistance to ambiguous things. And so the disciplines sort of get at both those issues. How do you make the non-urgent thing like instantly actionable and also get done in the face of all those competing priorities?
isn't it human nature to do tasks that you want to do? So, for example, I know I've been putting off a task for about a week, and it's going to take me 20 minutes to do it. But I'm like, just do it. I'll do it tomorrow. So, isn't it like, okay, I'm gonna do the tasks that I want to do, and I put off the ones I don't. So, it's just a mindset that you just go, I'm going to work through the crap tasks first, and then I'll do the things I want to do later.
Howard, you really got my brain spinning on that. Let me tell you, Nick, you say that, and I can think of 3. Wow, and I hope they don't watch this podcast because I bet they know who they are.
Sorry,
I can think of 3 individuals that have worked for me over the years. I should have been working for them. These are some of the smartest people I have ever met, but they all shared a common curse. They couldn't work on things they didn't like to do.
Oh.
And their propensity to gravitate to what they wanted to do was so high. This has been one of the things I've tried to tell my kids and my son-in-laws right now, that like there are going to be some things you have got to have the personal discipline to be able to do not only the work you love, but you have got to be able to do the work that you don't love. And by the way, Nick, when you talk about things you want to do, all 4 disciplines, when we get into it, I'm going to tell you why you won't want to do them. Each one of them, each discipline has a poison pill. Each discipline has a reason you are not going to like it. And what we try and do is when we tell you the discipline, like that won't be your initial reaction though. Your initial reaction is you'll like it. It's when you go to do it that you're like, yeah, I don't like this. And what we want to do is sort of inoculate you, right? So that you go, oh yeah, he said I would feel nausea right about now. I gotta push through this thing right now. So yeah. So here's another way to say it, and then we'll get to work. But another way to say it is this: effective people address the urgent. They take care of the urgent. Really successful people have the ability to put energy towards the non-urgent. It really separates the superstars. I mean, I got to look, just what you said, Nick, what you said about delegation. Delegation is rarely ever urgent. It's important activities, but it fits in exactly this little box that I'm talking about, because the quickest answer is always to do it yourself. But over the years, you have trained yourself that investment of non-urgent time into getting that person, up to speed and clear on objectives and successful and working. Like, you've learned that non-urgent investment of time pays dividends. And I got to believe if you look back over your career, you'll recognize that, yeah, a lot of your success, it came from those investments in the stuff you had to act on. It wasn't acting on you.
And ball across. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so let's so this is actually Nick's private session on the 4 disciplines. So it worked out really well for him giving you.
Yeah, I dig this.
I did that.
I like the back and forth too. It brings the stuff to life in a better way.
Well, actually, so I'm going to get you to launch into the 4 disciplines and run us through them at a high level. But before we jump into that, I just want to know, what are you drinking? Because I love that you're sitting at home?
Yeah.
You've got like a drink with a
It's focus. I got a limited focus. It's Diet Coke. But it's from. Do you have Panda Express in Australia? No, it's like really good fast Chinese.
Yeah, it's in Asia. It's in Hong Kong. So,
is that? Yeah. I got the shrimp and the orange chicken. It's like candy. Yeah. Once a week I spoil myself. Today was it was a Monday. I'm like, I need this. I need it. Right
our next session will have to be over Chinese food then.
Yeah, right on.
Okay, so firstly, we're going to talk about discipline 1, and we're going to talk about wigs.
Yeah.
So I guess firstly, we need to know what a wig is, because I remember when you were talking about it, I was like, what's a wig? What's this wig?
It's really related. It's just a way to... It's really related to what you were talking about before with the Whirlwind. So if I think about all the stuff I got to do every day just to maintain the operation, there's a lot going on in there. Is there something going on in there that the only way it's going to happen is if it gets a special treatment? Or maybe it's not right now part of the day job. Maybe it's something new. So it's either outside in, something brand new, or it's something in the day job that just hasn't been working for me. And my current level of whatever just isn't getting it done. And we do use this in a lot of different industries, but in healthcare, they always refer to defining a wig as taking an issue to intensive care. Like there's a whole hospital, a lot of stuff going on, but there's only one intensive care unit. And you go to an intensive care unit, they're going to give you the treatment. Like you're a lot of tubes in you. They're on you, right? So when you identify a wig, you're saying, okay, this is heavy medicine. We're going to kill this thing. Okay. And so it starts by selecting, and organizationally, that's a lot of the new book really gets into the sort of the algebra of how you do that across various levels and functions and things like that. But we'll just keep it simple for now. We'll just say personally, if I've got a wig, right, the first thing I got to do is I got to know what that is. And it's not your ultimate objective. It's not despite the word wildly important goal or wig, if your overall objective was, let's say, Nick, for your business was EBITDA, profitability, or Lisa, total number, viewership, like these overarching objectives, think of that like the title of a book. The wig is that one chapter that could make all the difference. It's that one, if we could just do this, like the Whirlwind needs to take care of the others. But the first discipline's called focus on the wildly important. If you choose the overarching objective, you haven't narrowed your focus. You're just calling everything one thing. But by recognizing, okay, which of these chapters, you know what it is? It's our ability to go into new markets, or it's this new product, or it's client retention, or it's subscription rates, or it's that chapter that's going to make all the difference. That's the wild. And the discipline is not picking everything. Like the discipline is saying the others are going to go on life support, right? But 20% dedicated energy is going to go to the wildly important goal. And the last thing on this, it has to have a starting line, a finish line, and a deadline. So it's got to be tied to a single metric with a starting line, finish line, and a deadline. And once it becomes a target, even that little act alone already sort of moves you closer to being successful. All right, so that's just a very short explanation of discipline 1.
Sorry,
And actually,
sorry, Lisa. So WIG is it's a secondary goal. What do you class as what do you call it? Like a revenue goal, for example, like a BHAG. What would
BHAG's not a bad word. Like, BHAG like talks about something that may take multiple years, maybe, right? Right. And you may have lots of objectives. You may have lots of objectives in the day job. You have kind of like vital signs, right? You may have 8 different metrics. You may have a dashboard, with lots of things that you need for life support and maybe a key goal associated with your vision or overall direction, the WIG, and different people use different constructs. The WIG is just saying, okay, we're going to take this one to intensive care. Like this, we're going to blow up this strategic bottleneck. We're going to get through the wall on this. And what you do is you tend to aim it at those things that, again, aren't going to work without a change in human behavior.
Yeah. And just for people playing at home who don't know what BHAG stands for, it stands for big, hairy, audacious goal. Why is everything to do with hair, wigs, and bloody hairy, audacious?
We originally called the Whirlwind the hairball, and our marketing team was like, we're not doing that.
Just all
I don't know. Because it's just so visceral. I don't know. It's just like, ugh. It's funny. I just went back and reread Built to Last by Jim Collins, which is where that term originally gets its origin. It'd been over 20 years since I'd read it. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's on my reading list. So I need to read up on that. Okay, so
very good.
Discipline 1, focus on the wildly important. And actually, further to Nick's point earlier, I like that when you talk about discipline 1, you talk about splitting the day or splitting your time between 80% of the whirlwind and then 20% focus on your wig. So I think that's a really good way of doing it. So let's move into discipline 2 now, which is act on the lead measures. So can you just give us a little bit about what that is?
If the principle behind discipline 1 is focus, the principle behind discipline 2 is leverage. So you've identified, like if you think of the visual, I really like this visual of thinking about a rock that you have to move in your life. And the rock is too heavy for you to physically directly push. You've tried, you've failed, right? You've got other rocks too, right? But this is the one that's got to get moved right now. And you think about how a lever works, and we'll come down to something more specific, but I want to start with this little metaphor, right? If you can get a pole, right, get a fulcrum and get a pole under that rock, you can start to move that rock, something that previously you had not been able to move. The two characteristics of a lever in the physical world are the exact two characteristics of a lead measure. Unlike the rock, the lever is influenceable. I apply pressure, it moves. I can't move the rock, but I can move the lever, so it's influenceable. And second, it's predictive. When the lever moves, the rock moves. So here's your classic lead measure example, weight loss. All right, someone that just cannot get weight loss to happen in their life. It's like a rock. Let's say the lead measures, and they can't just be an idea. They have to be an actual measurable thing around, let's say, diet and exercise. Same principles apply. Diet is something I can do. I can't get that scale to move, but I can, you know what I mean? I can cut my calorie input. I can, run a mile a day. Like those are things that are, maybe I don't, but I can. They are influenceable. And when I do them, they are predictive of weight loss. And so that little visual in people's minds, we've spent 20 years finding the diet and exercise equivalent to every kind of goal you can think of. And it's like the universe is always friendly. It always gives you one or two. And you don't always know what it is right away. It's like solving a puzzle, but there's always a lever. Like I'm talking scientists at Kimberly-Clark who are researching new fibers that don't even exist in the universe. Like eggheads with 300 IQs that are basically like, look, people, you wouldn't even get what goes on in here, man. And then you just start talking to them about, all right, what's the goal? Well, the goal is to have one new, breakthrough every 6 months. Okay, well, back it up. What tends to happen? What are the things that are most likely predictive of a new breakthrough? And just keep working the problem. And sometimes they'll come up with a hypothesis of what a good lead measure is. Let's say we're in a manufacturing facility and we want to reduce the number of plant shutdowns. Every time the plant shuts down, we got to restart everything and our production just goes to garbage, right? Production's the overall one. Plant shutdowns is the wildly important goal, or what we call the lag measure. The WIG is the lag measure. The lead measure, right? And they're thinking about it and they think, well, what if we got everybody back through training on the machinery? Well, maybe we could do that, but I don't think that would do it. I don't think it's predictive. And they say, okay, what if every shift, we find out, one potential problem per shift that has led to this. Like we start identifying root causes, or what if we really focus on preventative maintenance, and they start testing stuff until they find out what's predictive. And what happens in this is that in the search for these lead measures, you pull, it's like a hack for delegation. You pull people into the problem. So the leader starts enrolling people by saying, look, I got 4 ideas of what the leads could be, but I don't know if I've got it right yet. What do you think of these 4 things? And so I see what you're getting at with number 3, boss, but that ain't it. Let me tell you what I think you ought to try. You ought to try this. Maybe we could try that. Right? All right. And let's get okay. So as a team, what do we think are the 2 big bets? All right. If we're going to get new accounts, what do we like? We like referral. We like client referrals from category C. Do we think that's the one? Okay, we do. So so much of their job, nobody gets a say in, right? But this lead measure thing, you're trying to build a little equation for creating innovation, for creating a result you couldn't get. So that's discipline 2. Can we get the lead measures that will get us the lag measures? And then discipline 3, I'll just do 3 and 4 because now that we've done that, I'll just do 3 and 4. Yeah. So 3 is I got to see it. It's got to go from sort of hypothesis thinking, which is if we did that, could we get this, to game on thinking. It's like a different gear in your brain. So discipline 2 is sort of that, I'll bet if we did this and we did that, and everybody can have that conversation. Then you'll go back to work and forget about it. Discipline 3 is when you put it in the form of a game, like you're tracking it and you go game on. All right, so we're saying this week, all of us, we're going to get 5 client, category B referrals, and we're going to see if that leads to at least 1 new appointment. All right, that's the game, right? And every week we start tracking the lead and the lag measures. And the notion behind discipline 3 is that it's a player's scoreboard, not a coach's scoreboard. All right, so let me freeze on that for a second. I said that every one of these has a poison pill. The poison pill for discipline 1 is it's going to force you to say no to some good ideas, and you're going to hate that. Right? The poison pill for number 2, we're so scripted to focus on lag rather than lead data. Going and getting lead data is a pain in the neck. Lag data is easy to track. Lead data, like easy to step on the scales and tell how much I weigh. Lead data, I got to go get that. It's a pain. Discipline 3, we're really scripted for spreadsheets, for lots of data on our scoreboards, for using scoreboards for business analysis. This ain't that. That's good. We need that. But this is, all right, are we winning or losing? Are we playing the bet? And so if disciplines 1, 2, and 3 set it up, that's like setting up the game. The 4th discipline is where whatever team owns that scoreboard says, we're going to meet every Tuesday. And when I'm going to get to your time management kind of thing right here on discipline 4. They say every Tuesday at 9 a.m., we're going to meet for 20 minutes. And this is what happens at that meeting. Every person in that meeting, right, reports on, did I do the thing I said I was going to do last week? What's happening with the scoreboard? And then what's my commitment for next week? So if the leads were diet and exercise, I got to come up with a commitment this week to make sure I actually do the diet and exercise. Like people get confused about this because they're like, well, I thought the lead measure was the thing you do. Well, it is, but the commitment you make in discipline 4 to the team is something I'm going to do. Like it's going to rain next week and I hate running in the rain. And one of my lead measures is I'm going to run a mile every week. So, okay, I'm going to sign up for the gym membership, right? So I can get out of the rain. Or I'm going to go to Whole Foods on Tuesday. I'm going to get those ingredients for that recipe that so-and-so gave me, which has really helped me cut my calories. Like, what am I going to do this week? Okay, Marty is new on first shift. I've got to get him trained to be able to do this. And it's dynamic. So every week, things are changing that are going to get in the way of those lead measures getting done. What do we do? That's force against leverage is discipline 4. So what you're doing is you're creating this little winnable game, high stakes winnable game around the critical strategic bottleneck for getting to the big result. That's the whole thing. That's all it is. But the cool part about the thing was it didn't just create results everywhere it was applied. It also raised engagement everywhere it was applied. And this was our happy accident. We had no idea what a big deal it was to people when they feel like they're winning at something. And not just that the organization is winning, but they're part of a team that is actually winning and they can see it, despite all the non-controllables. Like there's like one piece of sanity in their lives where they're winning. And so this process, so this thing I'm telling you about right now, this has been like 20 years just figuring out just this one problem. Like, how do you break a strategic bottleneck when it requires a high degree of engagement? That's our story.
Great. So you said it increases engagement, but also staff retention. Because if staff feel like they're winning, they're going to stay with the winning team. Is that right?
Yeah, it really is. Now, retention and engagement are very interesting partners. Retention is one of the benefits of engagement. But you can do a lot of things to improve retention that don't really touch engagement. And if you look at Gallup's stuff, like they use the term engagement, but what they really do is they give you great formulas for retention. You know, you look at the Q12, you know, do I like my boss? Do I have a best friend at work? You know, do I like my benefits package? Do I like my income? Like, those are all reasons people will quit you. But I got a great reference for you. Frederick Hertzberg is the person's name.
Write that down.
And he, in the 1960s, this dude did some really important research that's just now being brought back up. And Hertzberg said, look, retention and engagement, they're both important, but the factors that influence them are unique. There's about a dozen things that'll drive retention. There's only 2 things that fundamentally drive engagement. And it was this, we fell in love with this data because it validated what we had seen by accident. The 2 things that drive engagement: am I winning? Or he sometimes says, am I making progress? And does it matter? So everything else could be crap. You could hate your boss, hate your pay, but if you're winning at something that matters, you watch, engagement will spike. And you can do this at a room full of 500 people. You have 500 people, at least I think we did this that day. Like, we had everybody go to a time in their career when they were most lit up, most engaged at work. And then we said, and everybody get it. Yeah, share it with the person next to you. Okay, all right, everybody's got one. You may or may not have been making good money at that time. And they were like, yeah, I wasn't making good money. Like, there's no correlation to money, pay. We spend so much time worried about pay. There's no correlation to pay. We spend all this time. People don't quit a job. They quit a boss. Yes, they do. But we're not talking about quitting right now. We're talking about engagement. And we're like, half of you didn't like your boss. And they were like, yeah, I didn't even like my boss. But it's this idea that, and here's why I really like this idea, Nick and Lisa, is that you can step away from the disciplines. And even if you don't get into the disciplines, if a leader just thinks, I got to give these people one winnable game. Like, there's so much going on in the environment we don't control. I don't know if this is going to be a good year or not. You know, we just got 3 new competitors. We're taking our hits. But in the midst of everything that's going on, let's pick something and let's win big at something. And like, leaders who do that naturally, like a lot of leaders will just do that intuitively because that's the energy that will fuel engagement. And the disciplines just seem to be a way of doing that when it wasn't even our intention. Like, that wasn't the reason we did it. It was this really cool byproduct.
Yeah, actually, I do want to talk a little bit about team and leadership because I know that I don't know if it's like a millennial thing or even like a Gen
Oh
Z thing,
yeah.
but yeah, I feel like, I'm old now, so I don't even know if I think I'm just a millennial, but like my generation really stuck at work just because that, like, even if they weren't happy. But I feel like the next generation coming through, they instantly want to come into a workplace and make an impact. And they want to feel like they're doing something important, and they're not having that patience, I guess, not necessarily to bide their time and earn their way up, but how do you keep them
I like
engaged?
how you're saying this.
Yeah,
I
and
like
feel
how
like they're
you're saying
doing.
this. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you an oversimplification. All right. If you break employee behavior into 3 camps, defiance, I'm just going to be a pain in the neck. I'm going to fight you on everything you do. I'm going to do a lousy job. The sooner you fire me, the better off you'll be. Compliance, I'll take care of the day job. I'll do whatever you ask, but I'm not going to do anything more. And commitment, like I'm into it. Like commitment, compliance, and defiance. That's a pretty good spectrum right there. All right. Now, if you drop the millennials in and contrast them versus, oh, I don't know what I am. I'm not a boomer. I'm the next thing, Gen Z or something. Man without a country. If you compare it to my generation, a lot of people in my generation would play the compliance game pretty good. They knew how to keep their mouth shut. They'd stay out of trouble. They'd get along, right? And then the boomers would do compliance till the day they died. Like they'd play that game. But the millennials get a bad rap because they're not going to play compliant. They're either going to be a holy pain in the butt, or they're going to be running your operation for you. And like I oversimplification, granted, total oversimplification. But the way we looked at the millennial equation through the disciplines was, all right, if the purpose of the disciplines is to get people engaged in solving a meaningful problem, what don't you like about these people? Like, you'll probably have more trouble with the day job, the 80% they got to do just to get a paycheck, right? But what we found is that people tend to will handle that stuff better if they have something that's more rewarding that they're winning at. And I'll tell you, we've seen the reverse of this. We've done 4 disciplines in parts of the world where command and control was baked into the culture. So parts of Eastern Europe that opened up, developing countries where, leadership had been very old school. And you come in with this methodology and wow, did we have to implement it differently. And we had to just really tiny wigs and lead measures. They would just tell you whatever they were just sitting there trying to guess what you wanted them to say. Like they wouldn't, right? And it was just, they didn't even believe you. Like it was just so hard to get that buy-in. So anyways, I'm talking all over the place, but yeah, that I think what you're touching on with the millennials, Lisa, this is an interesting way to look at these execution principles. Because yeah, if the game is to get them engaged, that's not where the millennials are going to fight you. I don't think. I mean, it's a generalization, but.
Chris, this ties into my last question. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Oh. I think I had one of those today.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah, matter of fact, about 20 minutes before I got on the call, I think I had one of but the way I always play it is I start to package it for stuff I'm going to tell my kids. And I see if I can say it because it's fresh. But it's the idea that spending a lot of energy on things that don't work still seems to pay these beautiful dividends. I've got this, one of my sons, if he can't see the finish line, he won't engage. Like if it's not a lock, he's not in it. And I really worry this is going to stunt his development. I could have used some more. I was on the other end of the continuum. I'd chase anything. right? But what I've learned is that, you know, I spend all this time writing an article for this publication, and we put it out. We don't get it. We don't get a thing, you know. And then we get leads coming from somewhere we didn't have anything to do with, right? Or we create this product and nobody buys it. And like my career is cluttered with projects and things that produced no results at all, right? Just scrap heap of just wasted time, except for the fact that I don't think it was wasted, because in the middle of that project that didn't produce anything, you figured something out and it applied to that thing that did work. And it gave you an idea and you tried something else. And it's really, we hate to invest energy on losses. But one of the things I would tell my 20-year-old self is just lower your blood pressure when it comes to losing. Like, you're going to see, like, this all works out, man. Just do everything with excellence. Even if you're not sure it's going to work, and somehow, like, the universe will reward you for that.
Beautiful note to end on. I feel like I want to keep talking to you. So, but I'm not.
Yeah, it's so nice. I know. That's what I talked to you for an hour and a half after 8 hours of presenting, Lisa. So I know the feeling.
I know. But thank you so much, Chris. That was incredible. And I'm really glad that Nick got to hear you explain firsthand the 4 disciplines. So I know that I definitely took a lot away from it, and everyone else in the room no doubt did as well. And I just want to say, like, I'm very fortunate to have seen you in person, but you know, your energy is incredible, even just via a Zoom. So, and I know that you're running webinars and things like that at the moment. So do you want to just quickly run through all the things that you're working on and tell us a little bit about the second edition of the book? Because I'm really excited for that.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. And you know, we're not traveling anymore. That's the bad. I mean, the good news is, though, that we're now doing webinars for companies and places like everywhere, right? It's just as easy. So we've actually got a promotion going right now that Franklin Covey, who offers me up, has cut their rates from $10,000 for a keynote or a virtual executive session to $5,000 if you buy a case of the new book, if you pre-order the new book. So we got that promotion, and you can, if you're interested or you think you might be, Chris McChesney 4dx.com is the website, or you can go to the Franklin Covey website and find me there as well. Lisa, that was really nice. Thank you so much for saying that.
Oh, no worries. And I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember that supermodel, Linda Evangelista? And she's like, I don't get out of bed for less than 10,000 a day. That's like you, Chris. But,
oh, no.
but on this occasion, you will for 5K. So
I won't tell you how much of my money Franklin Covey keeps.
Yeah.
Like, we won't tell you that. That's so funny. I know who she is. Yeah, she's she's adorable.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, wasn't it? She said that. I don't get out of bed for less than 10,000 a day.
I don't get out of bed for
Nick will get out of bed for like $1. Like he's
Bucks a buck, please.
It's really
That's like my last point. Like, even if nobody's paying you, like, something, if you work at it, something good will happen. It will.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chris.
You
really
guys are great.
Time.
I'm honored you wanted to do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Australia soon.
Hope so. Really do.